Chipotle's chief executive officer stood in front of investors and told them something no restaurant company had ever said out loud. He said 60% of their core customers earn over $100,000 a year. And then he said the company planned to lean into that. Not fix it, not address it. Lean into it. The company made $1.1 billion in net income last year. They are opening more than 300 new restaurants in 2026. So why is their stock down 33%? Why did they just report a full year of declining foot traffic? And why are analysts treating this like a company in crisis? Because of what that admission actually means. This is not a story about a burrito chain that got too expensive. This is a story about a company that built one of the most efficient machines in restaurant history and then looked at who was left and decided that was good enough. Scott Boatwright faced Wall Street with a message no one wanted to hear. Chipotle's guidance for 2026 was flat. Not low growth, not a slight dip. Flat. The company's own forecast said there would be no increase in same-store sales next year. That was a first for Chipotle in over 2 decades. The numbers were already moving in the wrong direction. Full-year traffic dropped for the first time since the early 2000s. Transactions were down. Fewer people came through the door quarter after quarter. Investors did not just notice, they panicked. Chipotle's stock fell 33% from its high. That wiped out billions in market value in a matter of weeks. Boatwright did not blame the economy. He did not blame competitors. He told investors the company would double down on its current strategy. That was not a warning. It was a signal. Chipotle was no longer chasing growth. It was choosing who mattered. The rest could walk. Chipotle was built to move people through the line. The open kitchen, the narrow menu, the assembly line choreography, every detail served one goal: throughput. The economics depended on it. The restaurant's fixed costs, including rent, labor, and ingredients, only made sense if each unit processed hundreds of transactions a day. Volume was not just a metric, it was survival. Each customer, each repeat visit, kept the gears turning. A drop in traffic did not just mean fewer burritos sold. It meant the entire unit model was at risk. Margins thinned. Labor became a heavier burden. Rent, once manageable, began to suffocate. Investors understood this. They watched the numbers not just for growth, but for evidence that the machine still worked. When volume slipped, the risk was not just to quarterly profits, it was to the foundation of the business itself. Menu prices at Chipotle have not stood still. Since 2021, the cost of a standard burrito or bowl has climbed with each passing year. A chicken burrito that once hovered around $8 now stretches toward $12 in many markets. That's a 40 to 50% increase in under 5 years. Meanwhile, wage growth for middle-income workers, especially those aged 25 to 35, has lagged far behind. For this group, paychecks have grown just a fraction of the pace set by Chipotle's menu board. The result is not theoretical. It's visible in the lunch hour lull, the empty chairs, the receipts left unclaimed at the register. Each price hike chips away at frequency. The customer who once stopped by 3 times a week now comes once, or not at all. The numbers don't lie. The gap between menu inflation and household budgets is not closing. It is widening. For many, the cost of a fast casual meal has crossed a line. The erosion is slow, but it is steady. And it is not coming back. 60%. That was the number Scott Boatwright put on the table. Internal research showed that 6 out of every 10 core Chipotle customers now come from households earning over $100,000 a year. Not a warning. Not a red flag. To Boatwright, this was an opportunity. He told investors the company would lean in. Chipotle would build for the people still spending. The rest, the 40%, had already started to disappear. Boatwright's language was clinical. He described the new core as younger, digitally native, and motivated by clean food and high protein. Consultants had confirmed it. The research was done. The company was done apologizing for who it served. This was not a pivot to value. It was a pivot to selectivity. In the boardroom, the fact that 60% of regulars could absorb higher prices was not a liability. It was the new foundation. The company would shape its menu, its marketing, and its future around this group. Boatwright did not flinch. He called it confidence. He called it clarity. The rest was just noise. Management pressed forward with a new playbook. In 2026, Chipotle announced another round of price increases, 1 to 2% system-wide. The company called it a minor adjustment. For regulars, it was the fifth hike in as many years. Protein cups appeared on the menu, $4 for a scoop of chicken, $6 for steak. Not a meal, not a deal, just a premium snack. The Recipe for Growth initiative became the company's operating manual. Every pillar pointed at the affluent core: more digital ordering, faster throughput, fewer menu experiments. Efficiency was not about bringing prices down. It was about protecting margins at lower volume. The Recipe program tested new products, but always with an eye on ticket size, not accessibility. Promotions aimed at group orders or digital exclusives, never broad discounts. The strategy was clear. Chipotle would monetize the customers who could pay and let the rest fall away. The numbers would sort themselves.
Sweetgreen offers a glimpse of what happens when a fast casual chain builds itself around a premium, high-income customer. The menu is sleek. The ingredients are organic, local, ethically sourced. The price of a salad now pushes $15 in major cities. Sweetgreen's core customer fits a narrow profile: urban, young, affluent, and health-obsessed. But the numbers tell a different story. Visit frequency is low. Most guests come once or twice a month, not several times a week. The average ticket is high, but the volume is thin. Sweetgreen has struggled to convert buzz into habit. Store-level economics never reach Chipotle's scale. Rent and labor eat into margins. Expansion slows. Investors grow restless. The lesson is clear. A premium brand can attract a wealthy crowd, but it cannot manufacture throughput. High prices and exclusivity do not fill seats, they empty them. The Sweetgreen experiment stands as a warning. Scarcity at the register is not a recipe for growth. Adam Reimer stepped into the spotlight with a number that could not be ignored. Chipotle's restaurant-level margin had slipped to 26.2%, down 130 basis points in a single year. The company opened 57 new locations, each one a bet on throughput that no longer existed. Expansion at this pace in this environment is not growth, it is exposure. Every new store adds fixed costs, rent, labor, supply chain. But without steady traffic, those costs do not scale, they multiply. The margin squeeze is not theoretical. It is visible in the quarterly reports, in the widening gap between revenue and profit. Dilution becomes a risk. The more units Chipotle opens, the harder it becomes to hide the strain. Reimer did not promise a turnaround. He did not offer comfort. He put the numbers on the table and let them speak for themselves.
The question hangs in the air. Is this strategy or surrender? Chipotle's leadership calls it clarity. The numbers say something else. Throughput was the promise. Volume was the guarantee. Now the machine runs slower, and the gears grind harder. The company claims to be choosing its customer, but the economics look less like a plan and more like an admission. When a business built on habit and frequency begins to accept scarcity, is it still in control? Or is it simply naming the storm that has already arrived? The evidence does not settle the argument, it sharpens it. What Chipotle calls a new direction may be nothing more than a line drawn around what is left. The rest is uncertainty. The story is not finished. A chain built on volume now bets on exclusivity. 60% earn over $100,000 by design, not accident. Menu inflation still outpaces wage growth. The middle market shrinks. In this economy, when a company stops counting on your return, the real cost isn't just what you pay, it's who gets left outside.